And what happens a lot of times is we miss stuff, things go unnoticed. And I think one of the biggest uh, uh, things that was said this past week came from Cedric Van Pran Granger. And yes, it is all of those names he clarified. And Chip Towers and I were standing in the hallway with Cedric, and he made sure to confirm that it is Cedric Van Pran Granger. Because sometimes I think that gets lost in the shuffle. We do our best here to try to get names right, y'all? Anyway, here's what Cedric had to say in one of the small rooms, which is where I always set up because you get different quotes. And he said, I like how connected the team is this year, if I'm being honest. That is one of the big moments that we learned, or that was one of the big things from this past year that I think was very important for Georgia, is just how connected these guys were as a team. And a year ago, I would say that sort of came naturally, perhaps with the exception of JT Daniels. And even, and see, this is going to sound bad on JT, and I don't mean it like that, but JT had only been in the program about 8 months at that point. Okay, when Georgia started doing a lot of the school sessions and a lot of the off the field stuff. He had not been around the block like a lot of the guys had. You can't really say that he was in the same, knew guys like Jordan Davis as well as Jordan knew Nolan, as well as Nolan knew Trayvon. I mean, like, the team in many ways had already been established, and JT came in and really gave them a boost in the arm in terms of playing quarterback. But this group now, this has as much to do with the younger, older players. Now, who is that? Okay, that's Kyrus Jackson, Stetson Bennett, Kendall Milton, Kenny McIntosh, Warren Erickson, uh, Bob Beal, as Stetson called him, Nolan, Christopher Smith, William Poole. At this point, Keely Ringo, Dan Jackson, got all those Zion Lowe, Carter, McClendon, Truss. There's a bunch of offensive linemen. Rosemary Jackson, Blaylock, guys that have played now for a time at Georgia or longer. Uh, that is going to be the group that moves forward together, um, in tying the whole team, uh, tying, I hate to use the word together so much, tying everyone together so that when it gets difficult, it really never got difficult for Georgia, with the exception of the extremes of the season ago. You know, the opener with Clemson, where they just sort of tug of warred their way to a win. They should have won that game by more. And then, of course, it certainly got very taxing at the end of the season with, the loss to Alabama. But there was no moment that I can recall off the top of my head where Georgia was challenged going into a half. Maybe the Kentucky game, but to some degree Auburn, but Tennessee, Florida, Carolina, these games were all handled by the half. Certainly Vanderbilt by the first three drives of the game. The game was over. You know, this team a season ago really didn't become what they were, I don't think, until the Vanderbilt game actually. But now that what Cedric's saying is, I like how connected the team is this year, if I'm being honest. I don't. There's a couple of different things that he could mean by that, but first, let me talk about this just for a second. Listen, if it's time to get Dawg Struction, if you want to get this offer's running out, where you get Dawg Struction today, our 80-page full color, forward by Jeff Foxworthy, look at the Dogs in 2021 national championship. You're going to get this for free. Now, these I'm kind of running out on, so I would get both now so that you can secure this. I had a limited run of the 2022 preview, and they were meant to be packaged together. I understand some people don't want both, which is fine. If you just want 2022 season preview, you can click the link down below. If you order Dawg Struction, guess what? You're getting it in your copy for free. So take advantage of that today. One thing I think happens when you start talking about, I like how connected this team is. The team is this year, if I'm being honest. that was discussed a lot last year. So it could be that what Cedric is saying is the only thing he's really been looking for. Like he wants it. He's confirming what he wants to be true. We don't know. I don't know that. There's no way for me to know that. And I think he could. I don't take it that way. Um, I'm just acknowledging he could be making that mistake because for years, okay, 20 whatever years into this, 22, I can't remember at this stage. However long I've been doing this, in the summer, you always hear about how great it's going to be. And, a lot of my Clemson friends make fun of South Carolina talking about how they're the summer national champions. But it's not just South Carolina. Everybody does this. I mean, right now, um, if you want to, you can find a way to pencil in the most advantageous record for a team or your team that it can possibly get. That's the part of the year that we're at right now. And forever, I heard about how good X looked or Y looked. Well, the difference that I'm trying to make in talking in this video is physical play will be matched. We just saw Georgia win the national championship. They lost a game. 2020 Alabama, that was a strange season. Nobody really matched them. 2019 LSU. Yeah, I mean, there were some moments with LSU. I mean, they had to survive Auburn, I think it was. I mean, there were some games they had to kind of get around before they started blowing everybody out. Skill will take you a long way. Now, I am totally team talent, okay? But this connection that Cedric Van Pran Granger is talking about is not irrelevant at all. And it doesn't always show up, quote unquote, in meaningful ways on the field. Like it's hard to prove that it's there. But there is a confidence that comes with it. There's a confidence with I think of the Miami teams from the 1980s that had a lot of confidence in themselves, that had a lot of connection with one another. You don't get off wearing camouflage fatigues, without having connection amongst one another. But there was a family type grouping with that program in the 80s. Alabama certainly in 10 years ago had that same thing when they won what 20, I don't even know how many games it was, 26 and 2 and won two national championships. I mean, no question there was. I mean, AJ McCarron was not wasn't Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Johnny Manziel, but he was really good for what he was. He was very good for that team. He played in the NFL for a very long time. He might still be in the NFL. I don't know, but there was a connection at the time with that Alabama group, and they lost a chance to win a third national championship. And I don't know if they would have won it against Florida State or not, but they had a heck of a chance to do so. So this is not nothing. And I don't, if you're not gifted, it's not being brothers literally with somebody is not going to make up for a lack of talent. If you are gifted and you're, for lack of a better term, this is the wrong way to put it, for lack of a better term, you're selfish, that won't work either because people will get annoyed during practice, and practice is when you work and get better. So I think for Cedric Van Pran Granger saying this, there were a lot of pretty good quotes coming out of media days. Stetson's about some people like me, some people support me, some people don't. Nolan's "We can't look behind us. Behind us is our ego." I thought that was probably the best one. And of course, the hunting analogy from Kirby. But this is probably one of the things that was said by a Georgia player or said about Georgia that kind of got lost in the shuffle because no one really listens to the offensive linemen at media days. It's just not, you know, it's not something we really focus on because they're not superstars. And even the superstars of the offensive line world don't really move the needle the way Stetson or Johnny Manziel or, Aaron or all these different guys. There's no really way to to equate an offensive lineman to a quarterback or a skill player or even a defensive player. But I think what he said is something to watch, and I think this Georgia team has an opportunity to be very good. And I think if they don't get to the playoff, people will get disappointed. The question is, how do they get to the playoff? And I think that's the one thing I'm going to really watch. And everyone watching this will do the same thing. But how will their connection? And we're not even talking about the young guys yet. How will the connection of the older guys move forward and help this Georgia team? We'll see. Kicking off with Oregon soon.